Hey, it's Mike again. When I first bought this van, I mentioned that it did not have cruise control. Well, that is no longer the case. It does now. My dad and I have installed it, and I'm going to show you how we did that in this video. Now, I should point out the manufacturer states that this is not a do-it-yourself job. Now, the kit is readily available, but keep that in mind. If you have questions, if you're not sure what you're doing, email the person you purchased it from, email the manufacturer. I will put a link in the description to where I purchased it. They were extremely responsive. They answered questions that I had. So take your time, ask questions if you have them, get professional help if you need it. Do this at your own risk. The first step in the installation process was to ensure that we had all of the parts we should. The only things that are not included in the kit are tools, solder, and screws for mounting the control module. The directions provide a list of all needed tools. Before beginning installation, it's necessary to disconnect the negative cable from the battery. Before doing this, make sure you're aware of any radio codes that may need to be entered to enable your vehicle's radio once the battery is reconnected. Then, disconnect the battery by loosening the nut on the negative wire terminal, removing the terminal, and tucking it away from the battery so that it cannot accidentally come in contact with the post. Once the battery is disconnected, installation can begin. First, disconnect the wiring harness from the accelerator pedal. Connect the new pedal interface harness in its place, and then connect the original wiring harness to the pedal interface harness. Next, remove the plastic cover for the OBD2 connector compartment and remove the connector from its housing. Connect the original OBD2 connector to the kit's diagnostics harness and insert the new harness's OBD2 connector into the housing. Tuck the original connector back behind it. Next, locate the white ignition switch 6-pin connector inside the steering column housing. There are 2 screws holding the housing in place. Remove the screws and then the housing can be popped off. Remove the white connector from the housing. Next, using a small flathead screwdriver, remove the cover from the connector. Remove the electrical tape from around the wires and remove the blue wire holder from the number 1 position. Twist the red ignition wire from the pedal interface harness around the blue wire and then solder them together. Reinstall into the number 1 position and re-tape the assembly. Replace the cover and return the connector to its original position. Next, locate the factory ground point under the dash. On the NV200, it is visible when looking into the OBD2 connector compartment. There are 3 ground points. We chose the center point as it only had 1 small wire connected to it, whereas the other points either had heavy gauge wires or multiple wires. Attach the black ground wire from the pedal interface harness to the ground point. The next step is to install the switch harness. There is some assembly required as the connectors will not fit through the hole you will drill for the control switch, but the connectors are included and are easy to plug the wires into. The instructions are clear on which wires should be installed into which positions on the connector. The instructions advise against drilling a hole in the steering column cover for the switch until you verify that the system works. However, this would require installing and uninstalling the wire connectors, so we took a risk and completed the assembly, including drilling the hole, before connecting the switch harness to the control switch. Proceed at your own risk. The control switch can be mounted on the steering column cover as you see fit, but the lower left side seems to be a popular choice as it gives you easy accessibility and is visible between the spokes of the steering wheel. Once the hole is drilled, run the wires from the control switch through the hole. Position the control switch mounting nuts and connect to the included connectors. We waited until all the wires were installed before installing the control module to ensure that it was in a convenient location. You want to locate a place under the dash to mount the control module that all the wires will reach. Check the engine compartment to ensure that there is nothing on the other side. We found it easier to drill from the engine compartment into the cab as there was not enough room under the dash to maneuver the drill. Once the control module is mounted, connect all of your connectors into the module. The instructions indicate which connectors should be connected where. Finally, it's time to test the system. Once you've confirmed that the system works, use the included zip ties and optional looms to gather the cables and hold them out of the way. Alright, so that's all it is. It's up and running for me. I like it. It's great. It's a nice convenience to have. Hope it works out well for you. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. This is a complicated job. Thanks for watching.